So now, okay.
I will do that after this
So now we will
discussion.
enter the spoiler section of this segment.
Yeah.
And we're going to open up the floodgates.
Oh, Jesus.
But before we get to these discussion questions that Jay has presented to us, I like to start off where we always start the discussion section.
At the end?
At the very end. Almost like clockwork, we always start at the end. And so, Dawson, you haven't read it yet.
I have not. I have not read.
But me
what
and
comes
Jay,
after.
so from the ending, Jay felt it too, and I don't know if you felt it. I felt empty coming off of that ending.
Okay.
We're jumping to
I
the end
didn't,
here.
because there's a lot of shows I will feel empty after, even like happy shows. But for me to feel empty after a show, I always have to be really invested in the characters. And in this show, I just wasn't. So it ended, and I'm like, okay, this is done, and I
have a serious problem with empathy.
Yeah.
Where I will empathize with things even though I shouldn't. So I felt empty.
Yeah.
So coming off of this, I immediately had to go, is there more?
Yeah.
And there was more.
Just not what I wanted.
Not what you were hoping for.
No.
So for my story of this after story, I went to go talk to you guys about it. And then after you left, Dawson, to go to bed, I found the after story and started reading it.
Yeah.
And live on a call with Connor, on a Skype call,
what the hell?
I was recanting my angerness and constantly repeating, wow, this is getting more and more fucked.
Yeah. Bit by bit.
Yeah.
I don't think that they had this all lined up when they started this story.
Yeah.
I think they set up a couple of key points and said, okay, here's the catalyst, and we need to have the characters reach this catalyst and then see where they go. Because
you have to remember, this is what we watch is technically the prologue.
Yeah. Well, also, it doesn't, instead of making the show feeling like you're following the main character's indecision, you feel like you're following the author's indecision.
Yeah.
Which is kind of an awkward line to walk.
Let's get fully into this.
Yeah.
The ending, where it just goes, call, hey, I love you, go do the scene in the room, and then, go to the airport.
So, if we want to talk last episode, a general, 2-minute gist of what happens.
But at this point, most people, if they've gotten this far to the 0 listeners, they already know what happened. But we could recant that.
Right. So, I mean,
just
you've got your main guy and you've got your two lady friends.
One that he starts dating.
He's currently dating one of them.
Setsuna.
The popular girl who looks exactly like Asuka from
who basically does everything for him and really cares about him. And then he's been having these weird feelings about the other girl. And her name was
Toma, which is
Toma.
real. Okay,
Toma.
Let me just put this out there right now. This show has a lot of points. There are a lot of points in this show that remind me of other shows in ways that I wish it didn't. And one of those happens to be that I really like the Raildex series, and the main character's name is Toma.
This is forever ruined.
And he's a guy, and they're completely different characters. It's just really weird to hear it in that context. Continue.
So the main character, he essentially has had a thing for the other girl for a while. They're all best friends, and then all of a sudden we get to the point where he gets a phone call, he meets her outside, they somehow wind up back at their room, next thing you know, clothes are off, and you're like, whoa, okay.
No, you forgot the important detail. His girlfriend calls in the middle of this, and he's about to stop, but she knocks the phone off the bed.
This happens. Also, let me just say, I don't know where or how you guys watch this, but I was highly disappointed that there was most of my screen was black during those.
Yeah, no, that's all versions of this.
It was is pretty anticlimactic.
So they get it on.
No, I actually think I found a less censored version of that. It's nothing much.
Yeah, I wouldn't imagine it to be. It was just like, why am I even watching it? It's so long for scenes of just black.
They get it on.
No, dude, you have to hear the romantic violin music.
Well, they get it on, and then she leaves. Mind you, stumbling out of the room.
Yeah, it's like, okay, where did he put that?
Yeah, Crunchyroll absolutely loved the idea that she was stumbling out, and I was a little concerned by that.
Yeah.
I was like, you guys are a little creepy. So then it got to the point where his girlfriend comes over, and then all of a sudden it's this moment where the main character's like, oh yeah, I kind of screwed your best friend.
I kind of just cheated on you.
Yeah. And he's like, it's been a while, I haven't told you any of this, so I should probably tell you. And she's like, the only way I'm going to listen to you is if you come to on the train with me to the airport.
So, because
she's about to leave to go to Europe, not that girl, but the girl he just banged.
Toma's leaving.
Yes.
Yeah, Toma's leaving to go to Europe, and then
Vienna specifically.
Vienna, right? To play with her mom, and then they're on their way to the airport. And then there's the most heartbreaking conversation in the train where she starts blaming herself for.
I have words on that because I read write-ups about this, and I actually it's kind of turned me around on some of the aspects of this, but continue.
Okay, I have something to say about that too, so we'll get back to that soon.
We'll just lay out the plot and then we'll come back to it. So they're on the train. She says she starts to blame herself for what happened. They reach the airport, and then the big climax of the episode is our main character decides he doesn't want to stay and he wants to leave before he sees Toma, but then he sees Toma, and in typical anime fashion,
you get one of the most infamous shots that's shared around the internet.
Yeah, they're
of them starting to make out, of him and Toma making out
in the airport.
In the background, you see the girlfriend just breaking down crying.
Yeah, they're making out in the airport, in the center of everything. Toma is making out with MC, and then
are the girlfriend's breaking down crying.
The girlfriend is breaking down and crying,
and then she gets on the plane and leaves, and then they stand there in the snow, and then it ends.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
And then he goes, you can leave now, and she's like, I don't want to leave.
My heart'll be frozen if I do. Okay, so the scene where they're making out, and she is crying in the background. The lead up to that scene felt like a really bad doujinshi to me. Like, when you accidentally find one of the,
That's some NTR stuff, man.
Yeah, exactly. When you accidentally figure out you're reading an NTR one, and she's like, I'm sorry, it just feels so good. And then the guy's like right there. It was bad. I was just like, oh god, I shouldn't be thinking about that when I'm watching this scene. But I feel like the lines there specifically, I feel like it just got steadily worse and worse in terms of writing as the show progressed, climaxing on.
The first 7 were great.
Yeah.
I liked actually when we included the ensemble cast in the first 7.
Yeah, I know, that was nice.
And then they all dropped off the face of the earth completely.
Yeah.
For the romance. So, you said you liked the first 10. What Dawson... Go on that.
Because of... I liked the whole backstory section on Toma. It was like...
Because it flips everything on its head.
Yeah, okay. You get that scene in 7 that makes you go like, oh, this probably isn't going to turn out well. I mean, you probably knew that from the beginning. Because most people have heard something about the show before they watch it, and the main character also implies in the first episode that things are not going to turn out dandy. But you know that's bad, but then they take you away from that for a while, and they're like, okay, let's just show you a bunch of backstory for a while. And I really like that. It was a whole 2 or 3 episodes of just pure filling in the gaps of what they hadn't shown.
You hated this.
I thought it was an interest.
I just wanted to get to the meat and the bones of the issue.
Yeah.
I kept dodging the whole season.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting...
You were like, dude, this is Naruto. Like, this is doing a Naruto.
It was, though. You're
Does Naruto do that?
like, huh. You know, I feel like we're having some filler here. In the middle of
even though it wasn't filler, it was important.
Well, it was filler in a different sense. Instead of being filler to fill time, it was filling in what they hadn't showed previously.
Yeah.
But...
So, and back to my original point.
Yeah.
Apparently, when you look on, like, Crunchyroll and other top anime websites...
Yeah.
Reddit, stuff like that.
This is like a flagship anime for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Which scares me. Because if you like... I mean, that brings up my thought
if you like NTR...
What is the theme here? Like, what are they trying to drive home?
I think they're just trying to create a really dirty, messy series of relationships.
If Nagi no Asakura is the perfect anime ending, this is the messy anime ending.
I just want to know what theme they were trying to drive home, because I have what I took away from it.
NTR, dude.
I just felt like it was... They were trying to say that relationships are really messy. I don't know.
It's really a realistic story.
Oh, good.
You gotta remember, this is one of the most realistic anime stories out there.
So I decided to see what other people said about this, because I was always worried I was in my own boat on the not loving this.
And then you found out you were.
And then I definitely found out I was in my own boat for not liking this.
No, there's a few
there's
of us.
a decent amount of people that don't. They're just less vocal than those who do like it. Which is strange, because that's usually not how these things work.
What I found was that the word realistic popped up in 4 out of 5 of the review videos I watched for this show. So, do you guys think that this is a realistic scenario?
I don't know, because in my situation, if I was ever in that situation, I would just be going on that plane too, so...
Yeah, see... That's one of... I think it's not. I mean, partially, it was up to a certain point.
There is a moment where it becomes wildly unrealistic.
Yeah.
And...
Like, back to that last scene, I don't think they would have ever kissed in front of her. Like, regardless of... Unless you're doing that to specifically make a point.
Yeah, to spite her.
Yeah, exactly. Unless one of the two is doing that to spite her, there is no reason they would ever kiss in front of her.
So there's a lot of word, like next to realistic, a lot of people throw the word guilt around in this, and how how realistic it was because everyone felt guilty.
I think feeling guilt is definitely realistic. And I think some of the ways that guilt manifested were realistic, but other times...
They didn't... The way their actions went about...
They were not, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, the feeling itself is realistic. It just doesn't manifest itself in realistic ways.
The MC was quoted in some of the reviews I was watching for being very forward with his thoughts and his feelings. And I said, well, he talks a big game, but he never really... Even in the end, he never really gets down to the meat of the issue. He just kind of avoids it and does whatever he wants to do.
Yeah.
In the end, he had choices that he made that caused all of this to end this way. One of the reviewers I watched specifically blamed, not Toma, but... Setsuna. One of the reviewers I watched specifically blamed Setsuna for the whole thing.
I mostly agree with that, because after reading a lot of write-ups, she is terrible. Not like a terrible... Okay, she's not the best characters, but she is terrible.
As in, like, a terrible person?
Her actions... Yeah, she's a terrible person.
Yeah, I mean...
She's super manipulative, she's a terrible person, and she's super self-centered.
Yeah, I don't know. I can see why one would consider her that, but I think the real... I don't know. I think our main problem... This reminds me a lot of School Days.
No, okay.
A lot.
That's where I wanted to pull out. When I watched this, I went, why does this make me feel like I'm watching a School Days version of Origaru?
It feels a lot like School... Like, if School Days didn't...
The animation style looks like School Days!
It's very similar, but also, if School Days didn't branch out to other girls, like... If School Days just stuck with the original 2 girls like it did for the first who knows how many episodes, I never finished it, but it felt extremely similar to that. Like, you have the main character who is really just mostly ignoring what's going on around him, and the people around him are just screwing with each other and screwing themselves over, which, in a sense, is... decently realistic. Like, how much certain characters screw themselves over in this, I'd say is definitely one of its stronger points.
If Setsuna just didn't decide to step in, this story would have been a lot happier.
Yeah.
Well, because the reason why I keep saying that she's a terrible manipulative person is that she saw the outcome ahead of, like, she said, okay, I know that these two like each other.
Yeah.
But I know if I don't step in, I'm gonna get left behind.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get left behind. I want to be, like, on the train, online. I want to eat my cake and eat... I want to have my cake and eat it too. Yeah.
Well, that's like Snafu, though. What's her name in Snafu?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing.
But that character's done a lot better.
Right from the start, it's very rare that I will ever like a... character who is I want us to stay this way forever sort of character. Yeah. Like, I'm really happy right now, let's not change this. The exception of that is Chisaki in Nagino, but that's only second half Chisaki, which doesn't really count. But just that sort of character in general, I get tired of really quickly. Like, I find that motivation pretty boring.
I going back to the White Album 2, though, not White Album 2, Snafu is, I like that character better in Snafu than here.
I mean, I like Yui better than Setsuna, for sure, but I think that's
a better show.
Yeah, it's just generally better written overall.
No, but the thing is, I like... Because the thing is, like, at least she is acknowledging it. They all acknowledge it. And the thing is, like, here, she's like, no, I'm gonna step in because I just don't want to be left behind. And unlike Yui, who is more motivated in her feelings, she is motivated in her selfish feelings of not wanting to be left behind.
I mean...
And then as you go through the series and you continue, the thing is, she is constantly not, like... One of the write-ups that I agree with is that somebody was saying that she is constantly saying it's her fault, that she's throwing guilt on herself. And that allows the 2 other characters to feel equally as guilty. Because if she was to be angry like they wanted to, they would have felt better about themselves.
Yes. This brings me to something I wanted to talk about. A manga I have told you about before, Onai Master something or other. It's basically, the story revolves around a decently cringy MC who's basically, in my opinion, it's if you took someone like Light or Lelouch and instead of giving them power, you showed them for what is a more real, in my opinion, a more realistic scenario for them. So instead of...
did you know that... Hey Jay, did you know that Code Geass is Dawson's trigger word now?
I really don't like Code Geass. I really don't like Code Geass.
We talk about that show sometime.
I don't like talking about Geass, except if I need to use an example of how something's done wrong.
I wanted to stop after episode 14, but Dotto made me finish.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. You started watching Geass, and you didn't tell me about it until you finished it.
Oh, yeah.
Don't blame me.
But,
don't go throwing guilt on me like Setsuna does.
Yeah, but the voice in my head
It's Bowen. It was Bowen.
No, the voice in my head was you, Dotto. It was like, Jay, you have to finish. You started.
Anyway,
back that
on White Album 2.
Let me just finish this for Onai Master real quick.
Onai Master.
Basically, the main characters, you take either Lelouch or Light, and instead of setting out to change the world, they're jacking off in the girls' bathroom. And you take that character, and he ends up doing some decent, pretty damn bad shit, cringy shit, that you just go, ooh, dude, that's messed up. And as I find our main character did in White Album 2, and as Makoto does in School Days, yeah, it's just making bad decisions. But the thing is, I think that handles guilt really well, because he feels a lot of guilt, and when he eventually fesses up to it, a huge amount of the other characters are just brutal towards him. And it was weirdly, extremely satisfying to, like, vicariously feel because he feels that intense guilt, and you can feel it being, like, and see as he sort of, it's not like cleanse, but how much better it makes him feel just to have people be visceral towards him for a while afterwards.
And he wants
about
that.
It. Yeah, like, it feels terrible, but it's also sort of redeeming in its own way.
Dude,
and I feel like that's something you need.
Dude, if he got chewed out by Setsuna, he'd be getting on that plane with Toma.
I feel like if he was getting chewed out by Setsuna, he'd have ended up with Setsuna, but that is difference of opinion.
You know, I think it's important to note that the writing choices here, I don't think are necessarily, and I don't think they're the fault of the author so much as when they tried to create this show, they tried to turn a visual novel into.
No, but this is the path that's needed to take to get to the after story.
Oh God! Do we have to talk about the after story?
One reason I usually like visual novel and light novel
adapt. Because you could get your happy endings.
So that's part of it, but also the main reason I really like visual novels is because you spend so much time inside the main character's head. And if you have a good main character who you spend a lot of time in their head, I find that really enjoyable. Like, main character from Hyoka, he's like one of my favorite characters, but I'm blanking on his name right now, which is really weird. 8-Man from Origaru, Kyon from Disappearance. I think those are all great main characters that you spend a lot of time inside their head, listening to their thoughts as they're having conversations.
So you would have liked it better if our main character just...
He started off like that.
Monologue.
He started off constantly thinking through everything in his head, and you saw his thought process. And I feel like they slowly stopped doing that as the show progressed.
So would you think that's the fault of the writing or the directing?
Depends. I haven't played the visual novel, so I wouldn't know. Because if the visual novel kept up having a lot of...
inner monologue?
Yeah, a lot of inner monologuing. I would fault the director at not portraying a lot of that inner monologuing. But if he stopped writing inner monologuing, you can't direct what you don't have. So, I don't know where the root of that problem is.
Oh boy.
Getting all the phone vibrations.
That was Jay. This one's before that was me.
Yeah, I know, but continue.
But, what was my point? Did I make my point? I think so. Basically, I think I would have enjoyed the show more, and I think our main character would have been a lot more interesting if they'd spent more time going over what was in his head, specifically.
Do you guys find the main character redeeming, or do you find him much more shallow?
Man, have you been subtly adding in these discussion questions, Jay?
Yeah.
Just bit by bit. I personally just didn't like the main character. Like, he never... I like when you have a main character that does bad things. Like, he obviously has faults. Like, this character obviously has faults, which is nice. I like a character with faults and who does stuff that's obviously
and then he decided to cheat on
messed up. Exactly. Like, that's kind of screwed up, and he shouldn't have done that. But he never does anything to redeem himself. I don't know if that gets solved in the bits I haven't read.
No.
But
no,
that's my problem.
Because here's the thing. In the bits that you read, there's a lot of paths.
Yeah.
Because in the prologue, there's only 2 girls, and then as you go forward, there's more girls.
There's even more girls?
But,
yeah.
I can't imagine that.
But here's the thing. There's a straight line to get to the true ending.
Yeah.
Because there are other girls, and then you could end their stories, and then you get an ending that's ending prematurely.
Yeah.
Isn't the true ending he winds up sleeping with one and then marrying the other one again?
No.
Or is that one of the alternate ones?
That's the Setsuna ending. Or no, that's the Toma ending, but not the Toma Chu ending.
Oh.
There's the thing is though, Dawson, is that the way that it works is that you have the prologue, right?
Yeah.
And then you have the middle section. I don't remember what the middle section's called. After story?
No, after story is clan ads.
Oh, clan ad?
Clan ad, there's clan ad and clan ad after story.
Jay, can you think of what the middle one was?
We can just call it the midsection.
No, concluding chapter and coda. So the concluding chapter is the middle section. The concluding chapter is or is it coda the middle section?
I'm assuming coda would be the middle section.
Okay. There's a middle section that deals with other girls, but then to get the straight line, you have to end up with Setsuna.
Yeah.
And that straight line will, if you end up with Setsuna and that, you end in coda. Well, I mean, concluding story.
Okay.
And then in concluding story, Toma comes back into the picture, and then there's two endings from there.
Well, coda could be the end, actually.
Okay.
Whatever.
I don't know. You're gonna have to read this, Dawson, because I'm just gonna be briefly explaining.
Naturally.
But basically, it goes with the four endings of like Setsuna ending, Toma ending, true Toma ending, true Setsuna ending. I don't remember if that's the case.
Yeah.
And it goes. No. Specifically,
you're gonna have to give me one sec here.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Okay. Anyway, so. Continuing.
Yeah, I have to help out a lot when I'm back for break.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, in the closing chapter, there's like 5 girls he's choosing from.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay, so Dawson, continuing off where we left off, basically in the time that we just cut here, and you guys didn't hear it, but it goes introductory chapter, concluding chapter, then coda.
Yeah.
In the concluding chapter, he could end up with the 5 girls, other girls, but then the straight line to get to the coda is you go through the Setsuna route.
Yeah.
And then it opens up to multiple endings, and a lot of those, the true endings, they're fine.
Yeah.
They're fine, but the other 2 endings, it's like, oh man, you're the worst person ever.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. So, in my opinion, I don't know if he's a very redeemable character.
Yeah.
Because, like, knowing myself, there's a lot of actions I would do differently.
Yeah.
Which I would... Yeah. I would probably be doing a lot of that differently, which is why I don't see him being a realistic character.
Yeah.
But going to Jay, since you brought up this question... Do you think he's a redeemable character?
I think, at least in, like, Western theater and in Western film, a character's dramatic struggle to find redemption is something that a lot of people can rally to.
But he doesn't.
But he doesn't.
He doesn't find redemption.
He doesn't find it, and he doesn't really seem to be looking for it either.
Yeah.
He just seems to be going with wherever he was kind of like... It was almost like, hi, I was written to go here and do this.
Me and Jay have read this, and I'll tell you a little bit about this. He goes off to college, like, he breaks off with Setsuna, goes off to college, and then just bees, like, an emo git for, like, a bit of that.
That's pretty nice. I actually like that.
And a recluse guy until he meets other women.
And then he winds up getting back with Setsuna again anyway. And you're like, what?
Okay. Also something I want to talk about, partially because I've read Nozaki Onna recently, which I've told Andrew about, and he will hopefully at some point read.
I can't do it because I literally have to, like... I have to think about it, or I'm like, I can't read this, like... like, I can't read this, like, now. Like, I've been thinking... I keep going, like, I want to read it, but then it's like... It's just enough softcore porn where
tough.
I just can't.
I'm sorry, what?
Jay,
can we rewind about 3 clicks there?
So this manga, Nozaki
it's an actual
Onna,
manga, not a hentai, Jay. It's not a hentai.
It's a softcore.
It's almost
it's the equivalent
softcore.
Of a softcore.
There's a lot of sexual intercourse, etc. in it, and that is highly the point. But there's also a lot of decently interesting plot going on in the background.
It's a very character-driven story.
Yeah, it's very character-driven. And
are we talking about, like, high school DxD level of...
This is completely different. No, this is
actual characters doing
let me just send you a link to...
Oh, no.
The Mal page, and you can explore from there. But...
I'm actually really interested in reading it, Jay. The only issue is that it's too much on the line of softcore, where I'm like, I can't just sit here and read this.
Yeah, it definitely feels like I had to be in a very specific mood to read that. Like, if I'd tried to read that, I don't know if I'd be in the right mindset to do it. But I was in a certain mindset, and I read that, and one of the characters makes a very interesting point at some point in the story.
I'm trying
to be very vague. But basically, It's like, okay, so you messed up and did something that would hurt your significant other. Is it better to tell them that you did this? Or at some point, is it better if it was something that you did once and feel terrible about? Is it better to keep it to yourself and submit and basically turn yourself over to that guilt that you're going to feel continuously for quite a while, and basically they're happier for it, and you're not telling them this because you don't want them to be unhappy and you're taking it on yourself? Is it better to share that and have them feel worse, or is it better to keep that to yourself? It's hard to...
That's a philosophical debate. Depending on what philosophers you agree with, would have very different opinions about that.
Exactly, because I feel like most of the time when I'm watching or reading anime or manga, there's a heavy theme of eventually characters need to talk about something. And eventually they need to get there, yeah.
And you know what? This is a case where the characters do talk.
They do talk, yes.
But it's not in a way that I would appreciate.
Yeah. But basically I found it interesting. There was a couple points in this story where I was like, okay, MC, if you ended it with one of these two girls right now, and you just chose not to tell the other girl what happened, and just
there's an ending where he suggests that in the code.
Yeah, and just like he spends a huge amount of time racked by guilt, but continues onwards with that having come to a conclusion. Would I have liked that? Like, I don't know if I would have liked that. It was just something I was thinking about having read that recently.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Since you're bringing that up, I want to bring my other point up about Nagi no Asakura. Yeah. Where, for the 0 listeners who listen to that and who are listening to this, they know that I don't like that Nagi no Asakura ending.
Yes.
I adamantly yelled and ranted about that ending. And since you were suggesting for Jay to watch it, I will be very vague on the ending, because Dawson knows the ending.
Yeah.
But somebody in the Reddit threads said, here is a White Album 2 version of the Nagi no Asakura ending.
Yeah.
Where they basically rewrote the ending to have the White Album 2 ending instead of the ending that they had in Nagi no Asakura.
Okay.
And I like that ending
better?
A lot more than the ending of Nagi no Asakura.
I can infer why you would like it more, though.
Because one person loses. Because one person ends up losing, and it's the right person who ends up losing.
Yeah. See, that's just personal opinion of character.
But then, I thought about it a little further from there. Yeah. Okay? And I said, what if White Album 2 had Nagi no Asakura's ending?
Yeah.
And I said, I would have liked that a lot better than the ending we got.
So you would have liked both of those shows better if they just swapped their endings out?
Switched endings, yes! Because in one case, the person who should have won. And in the other case, at least Setsuna could go not die in a dish, but, just admit that she was wrong and, let the two be together.
Yeah, I'm inferring here, Andrew, that you heavily want MC to end up with Toma in White Album 2. Wanted
because
him to.
After I read all that stuff, I was like, she's a terrible person!
Toma's not that much better.
Yeah, I think they're all terrible
She's
people.
a lot more deserving of it.
And they're not terrible people. I don't know.
Toma
they're also pretty young.
Yeah, I think it's
most of that's the thing. Most of what Setsuna does, I can chalk up to mental immaturity.
She's like 16, 17 maybe.
That makes sense. And most of what Toma does, 18. I feel like I can also chalk up to emotional immaturity.
Because Toma plays a character, and she's not really that way, but she plays herself acting in the way that she does.
Exactly. But the thing is, with the main character, some of the things he does I can chalk up to emotional immaturity. But some of the things he does, I feel like I definitely can't. I don't know.
Like that whole last section.
Yeah, exactly. That whole last segment specifically. That's why the last 2 episodes for me were the ones that shook me. Because up to that point, I decently enjoyed the show. I'd probably get...
You were loving it.
I wasn't loving it, but I was enjoying it. And then those last 2 episodes kind of just dropped off and fell pretty flat. And then also the fact that the very last scene was not the past the kiss scene.
The one where they're standing in the plains.
Not even that. It was the fact that they ended with the song that they didn't play.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as they didn't play that song during the festival, I was like, okay, they're going to play that at the end. That's going to be the very last song they play in the show.
Because it has to do with the exact entirety of the story.
Exactly. So as soon as they did that, I was like, oh, I know this.
You would think that if Connor watched this, it would have been... Oh, man. I can only imagine. Anyway.
I can't even see either Connor's liking this show that much.
Oh, I know that for a fact. So, Jay, what's your next discussion question?
This one's actually pretty funny. This is one that actually kind of pokes fun at a few little plot holes in the story. So that snow crash, the car crash in the snow.
Oh my god, Dawson! How much would you have loved it if somebody died in that crash?
That would have been just so strange. I wouldn't have known what to do with the show at that point.
So me and Jay talked about this. The snow crash.
I thought. Oh my god, they've crashed. Now they're stranded out in the wilderness in the middle of the night. It's like -3 degrees. We should be panicking. Instead, they all run outside in short-sleeve shirts and start playing and rolling in the snow.
Yeah.
And their car just wrecked into the snowbank.
Yeah. Also, their car didn't look that wrecked either.
And two seconds later, the snow pile is off to the side and they're driving away. We don't.
Oh wait,
we see them.
Did we see them driving away? I swear to God.
No, Jay, you're wrong.
They just had a dry cut from them playing in the snow to them at the inn. We have no idea how they got out of that situation. All we know is the next day they have the car and they can drive back fine, and it's no worse for wear.
No, here's the thing. I thought someone was going to die during that snow crash. I honestly went into that snow crash going, someone's gonna die. There are way too many death flags being raised right here. Someone's gonna die. It's most likely Setsuna. And I think the story will be a lot better if Setsuna dies.
Oh, I was expecting them...
No, not because she's gone. But because I feel like it would have been a lot more interesting if one of them died.
Yeah. I mean, I was...
Because...
Continue, sorry.
Because I feel like they could have dealt with... Because the whole thing was, like, Toma didn't have, like, experience... Like, she says she was an experienced driver, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
Really. And they didn't have the chains and
stuff like that. No, they did have chains. She said she brought chains. They didn't put them on.
I don't think they had chains.
She
didn't put them on. They didn't put them on.
She brought them.
But she never put them on. And I felt that a much more interesting story could have been told if, like, Setsuna died.
Her emotional trauma of feeling like she killed her friend and stuff.
Yeah, and then them still, like, hey, they kind of like each other, but, like...
But your girlfriend just
dead.
died. Like, wouldn't that be disrespectful, etc.?
How much of a better story would have that been?
It would have been interesting. Definitely. I mean, I expected the three of them to have to huddle together in the back of the car and some sort of, like, weird things to happen because... But they just magically poofed their way to the hot spring.
Snow party,
Snow party, baby.
Because when you crash in the snow, your first reaction is, let's have a snowball.
Yeah, I remember watching that. I'm like, oh my god, someone is going to die. And then...
No one died!
Nobody died.
Because normally if you wreck in the snow, that's usually like a reasonably serious thing.
Yeah, most definitely.
Okay, I'm trying to find what episode that was in, because I'm searching right now.
To find it? What was it?
It was episode...
Was it 8?
Yeah, it was 8. 8 or 9.
No. Mm-mm.
Because 7 was the concert, so yeah, it was 8 or 9.
7 was the concert?
Wait, here we go. 8.
Yeah.
Ah, yes, she's wearing the driving glasses. Here's the scene. It's dark. It definitely looks a little creepy. She's swerving back and forth. They can't find anything on the map.
Yeah.
And they're not wearing seatbelts.
Also a problem.
How did none of them die?
Actually, I think she's... Okay, we got 2 confirmed seatbelts. I don't think we have a third for Setsuna in the rear.
She should have died.
Like, they're talking about bad weather. They're literally doing all the stereotypical things for a cabin in the woods. I mean, for someone dying.
It's the most lead up. It's the most death. It's like the most death flags that they should have, like, died from the amount of death flags there were.
And then now they're distracted by the snow. She's looking up. She's not paying attention. Car swerves out of control. By the way, if you listen to the music choice they picked like piano music for the car crash, like light.
Dude, fluffy. That violin music during the sex scene.
Yeah,
classy.
I didn't like the music direction in this show. I did for a show centered around music. I feel like it was just way too subpar.
I think the only good song was White Album. Was White Album too.
Yeah.
Like he even says we're gonna be stranded out here. And then
she's like,
fight begins.
Snowball fight?
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing?
Like, they're wearing shorts.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of dumb.
So, yeah, Jay, what was your opinion on the snow crash?
I think we just heard it. Didn't we? I don't know.
I thought if they're gonna have... Yeah, we don't see them driving out.
We don't
had to confirm
see them driving
out. It's
out.
just a dry cut.
It's a dry cut.
I think.
In fact, she's singing. Yeah, we cut to commercial there.
Oh, that's okay.
So, here's what I think. If you're gonna put a scene like that in and have all these flags leading up to it, that something bad is gonna happen...
Do something!
Do something with it. They had the perfect opportunity to add a little bit of dramatic tension there. But I think this was supposed to be the obligatory hot spring episode where nothing bad happens.
That's true.
Yeah.
So there was that.
Your next discussion question, Jay?
Yeah, The Love That Cannot Be, that was the song title that we didn't know of until, like, the very last episode of the show. I feel like, if nothing else, that was the symbolism, and that was at least part of the theme that they were trying to drive home.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole idea that, like, while the song was playing, there's, like, a collection of clips of Setsuna, and MC, and then there's like the two separated windows. I just saw a lot of symbolism there, and I'm trying to figure out if that was what they were trying to drive home as far as the theme
You're
goes.
going back to the themes that you wanted to see.
Yeah, well, it's not so much what you want to see, because I have what I take away from it, and then there's what I think the author wanted me to take away from it. And I guess I never was quite able to figure out what the author wanted me to take away from it.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. I mean, I kind of feel like he's trying to say that, like, love just can't be happy. Like, as much as something seems like it's going to be really nice and happy, and it should be nice and happy, it's never going to be. But, I don't know.
Well, the love that cannot be. That's a good jumping off point again from what Jay was saying. But, because the love that cannot be, because that song was written by Toma.
Yes, lyrically.
Lyrically, it was written by Toma. And so, if that's, like...
okay, you know what makes this great? If this is what Toma... not Toma. Oh, wait. Did you say it was written by Toma? It's not written by Toma. The lyrics were written by MC.
Oh, yeah, it was written by
MC.
Lyrically written by MC.
Yeah, no. Now that you remind me.
And the music was written by Toma.
MC.
So I'm used to Toma being the MC.
And it was sung by Setsuna.
But what would be really interesting if this whole scenario is actually just what the MC wants. Like, this entire show is basically... And the whole end fantasy, everything, is just like his little sadistic love story he's put together in his mind.
He's eating his cake, and he's having his cake and eating
this was what he wanted the whole time. He's like, dude, I can make such an interestingly terrible love story out of my situation right now. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna write this song for this. It's gonna be perfect. It's like his weird dream that he wants to come about to be reality.
Because he's like the anti-8-Man, where, like, he's basically the anti-8-Man.
Kind of. I mean, I feel like they have some similarity, maybe?
No. The anti, where they're just different.
Yeah. Well, wouldn't anti be the opposite thereof?
Yeah. I guess. Damn. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he's a very different MC.
Well, we need to give Jay a message. What's the message of this show?
See, that's what's so hard about this. You can't quite put...
We're literally sitting here in silence just trying to think of what was the message they were trying to tell us.
Yeah, some shows definitely don't need a message, but this show feels like it should have had one.
And even if the message is,
and I know,
cheating is okay,
and I know the
that's
fan
still not
base,
a good message.
and I know,
if it's NTR, that's still not okay.
And I know that,
because NTR is still not okay.
I know that the fan base probably has a theme they're taking away from it. Because there's no way the fan base would be this huge if they didn't have a theme they were taking away from it.
They like it because how realistic it is.
Their theme is love is messy. I'm pretty sure that's what most people who like this want to take away from it.
And they're fans of NTR.
God damn it.
Sorry, I was gonna bring this up. Did you notice on Reddit the guy who just keeps bringing... Oh, wait, no, you don't look at discussion forums on the shows I'm watching. There's been a guy who's been just bringing up NTR constantly in the recent days. Yeah, he just goes, dude, at the end of Comet Lucifer, they're just like, dude, did Earth just NTR the MC?
God damn it.
Wait, okay. Jay, do you know what NTR is? Because we keep using this term, and I don't know if you know what it means.
No, I'm afraid I don't know what the reference is to.
Okay, Dawson, do you want to explain NTR?
I mean, I can explain what NTR is. I don't know the origin of the specific
just explain
term.
What it is.
It's basically just the equivalent of cuckolding in some sense or another. Not always, like, a guy and somebody he's married to or something like that. But basically, if you have
it's
usually you're reading doujinshi or watching some hentai or whatever, and your main heroine has a boyfriend and bangs someone else oftentimes while her boyfriend watches.
Or the boyfriend walks in and goes why and feels really terrible about it, and then the girlfriend just keeps doing it.
Yeah, and as much as she hates it, there's some sort of high or increase of sexual pleasure because of that.
Yes, and in this show, there's a lot of NTR going on, in a way. Because Toma leaving, I could say that's NTR. What's it called? Setsuna, like, basically getting cheated on NTR. Nothing? No NTR towards Toma? Toma being taken away by Setsuna. Yeah, there you go. There. Everyone gets NTR'd at some point.
So, I'm gonna throw, like, a list of words and phrases that have been used to describe White Album 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just tell me if you agree.
Okay, we already said realistic and guilt.
Yeah, we said
what are other words?
We checked realistic and we checked guilt.
Okay. What's the other ones?
Okay. Sad.
Well, yeah, it's definitely quote unquote sad.
Yeah. I mean,
did I feel sad? No, I felt empty. I didn't feel sad.
But no, literally, this is like a word that I found in like 7 out of 10. People are like, it was a sad story. I'm like, can we define that?
Yeah,
that is a fact.
No. This is the anti-Nagi no Asakura. These two animes are entirely polar opposites. Where Nagi no Asakura is the happy, perfect anime, and this is the messy, dirty, sad anime.
I mean, they're not only ending-wise.
Ending-wise,
during the show themselves, they're not that different.
Oh, yeah.
Here's one.
They're not that
How
different.
about heartfelt?
That I definitely did not feel.
I did not feel that.
Okay.
Who says heartfelt, and in what context?
I mean, heartfelt is like...
The context I got for this one from a couple of them was, it was a really heartfelt story and a real tearjerker.
Tearjerker?
I could see how it can be a tearjerker for some people. But using the term heartfelt to describe it, I think is okay if we were talking about just one of the couplings, but I think the combination of the lack of decisiveness
cheating
and all of that really takes away from the heartfeltness of it. Like, if we just got one heartfelt is very innocent, and the show was meant not to be.
Yeah, Jay, what do you think? Was it a heartfelt show?
No. I mean, you know...
Jay is a loss for words again.
You know, it's one of those things where maybe if it was a love story between two people, this was more of a heart destroyer, I think might be the better...
Yeah. If heartfelt is sweet, this show was very bitter.
Yeah.
Is how I can best describe it, I think.
This is your blackest coffee you could
get.
Another word that came up a lot was impressive. Do you think that the show was visually...
No, stop there, Jay. You don't have to keep going.
Okay, I'm the sort of person that would never use impressive to describe a story. Like, I would use impressive to describe really nice visuals. I would use impressive to talk about a really nice sound design.
No.
But I would never use it.
I'm very impressed that somebody wrote
this.
Yeah, oh no, I'm just literally, I went through these and I just pulled words that I thought were interesting.
And that's the only thing I feel like you could be impressed by in this show, is the story.
I'm impressed that people love it as much as people do. I don't understand it. Every time I go through threads about White Album 2, and let me just tell you, there are many of them. They appear at least once a month.
About
somebody who's watched White Album 2. Yeah, you see a lot of them.
I guess I don't go deep enough.
Well, no, I'm on there every day, so I always see the occasional White Album 2 thread. Like, just earlier this week, Dawson, there was a White Album 2 thread of somebody going, guys, why do you all like White Album too? Followed up by everybody going, you haven't read the after story. Huh. And I went, no.
That is kind of funny, because, like, most of the times you get stuff like that, people are like, no, read the source material. But they can't say, read the source material. They're just like, go read the write-up about the source material. It's great, I promise.
Here's another one. Very haunting. I saw the word haunting used quite a few times.
Okay.
Hauntingly beautiful.
No, I think haunting by itself is almost applicable.
It's a tale of cheating.
It's not a word I would personally use, but I can definitely see that actually being applicable to this, whereas some of these other words, like heartfelt and impressive, I don't understand. But haunting, I can definitely understand it being used for this show. Like, the feeling of being left feeling empty, like you guys said you were, I think that is somewhat haunting in its own sense.
I guess another thing that is commonly referenced in the reviews is that it is not a sequel to White Album, but that's it's literally like bold, italicized.
Oh, we totally forgot to add that into the recommendation. No, you don't have to watch.
You don't have to watch White Album
because apparently it's 24 episodes of this, but more girls.
Huh.
Is it? I don't know anything about the original White Album.
Also, in no reference
seeing, like, 6 girls.
to this being the second half of the Beatles album, either.
Oh yeah, this has nothing to do with the Beatles.
Unfortunately.
Very, very unfortunate.
If they played some Beatles songs, this show would have been infinitely better.
Oh man, would have that been a trip? No, don't play the song that they did play. Go play a Beatles song.
Be great. Throwing out, like, Glass Onion and Get Back.
No. I've just seen a face.
I've just seen, yeah.
Like, there you go. Like, infinitely better show. What's another word, Jay? Throw one out.
There was, another person wrote, best romance anime I've ever seen. Let's see. Devastating. Devastating was another word that came up.
8.05? Sorry.
Is that its score?
That's the score. No, yeah, that's its score.
Okay, the score is like...
The mean score, I guess I should tell you that. When I compared different websites, it averaged between 8.9 to 9.1 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, White Album, the original White Album, there's like 6 girls on this cover.
Okay, yeah, I should probably say at some point here, I didn't hate White Album 2. Like, as much as it sounds like I hated it, I didn't hate it. It's just, I wouldn't
don't worry, I don't hate this either. I'm on the fence about it.
Score it like a 6 or something, probably.
Oh, wow, you gave it worse score than I gave
Okay,
it.
That's going off of 5 being totally average. I think it's a little better than average, but...
Well, no, the issue is, like, I gave Nagi no Asakura a 7. I should give this a 6, right?
The biggest problem with this show for me is that almost every scene they had reminded me of another show that did that scene better. Like, when the concert scene happened, I stopped halfway through it and went and watched the first concert from K-On! There was some other sections where stuff like that happened, where I just stopped halfway through watching something and went and watched a scene it reminded me of that I thought did it better.
No, hey, the funny thing is, me and Jay were sitting here, and I was like, oh, Dawson's on the last episode, and Jay's like, okay, we're gonna be here for like 2 hours then, because he's gonna start that episode and then like stop halfway through it.
Just not.
Jay, you texted me earlier when I was out and about, and you said, hey, I went to go rewatch the last episode.
Oh yes, I rewatched the last episode today.
Yeah,
regretted that.
I can imagine.
Don't know why I did that to myself. You know, first thing you do is you click the play button, and next thing you know, she's on the bed, and they're doing it, and I'm like...
That's how you start that episode!
Yeah, that's a solid start, I'll give it that.
yeah, I actually forgot that's how it started. I was like, oh yeah, that's right,
That happened.
That happened.
Yeah, Jay, when I told you about this and you said, oh, cool, I'm going to go rewatch White Album 2 this weekend, I said, no, you're not. Like, in my head, I said, no, you're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, God. So, another thing that I saw as a common thing that people put into reviews is they said that people said they felt closer to the characters. Now, that's a very vague phrase.
They felt more closer and connected to these characters than most cast characters in most animes. And I could see where some people might be saying that, but I don't agree with them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're pretty I mean, I to each his own. Everybody's feelings and thoughts are different.
Yeah.
I feel like the main character is a little bland, so I could understand if you were going to connect to either of the two female leads. However, our protagonist is fairly bland. He doesn't really have a whole lot of...
He's a piece of toast,
yeah. I mean, there's a little bit of butter on there, but... and it...
Yeah, they had a little bit of butter. He's better than some, most definitely. Yeah. But I wouldn't say he's great
he's better
by
than,
any means.
Like, 3 of the MCs from this season's anime.
Yeah, I mean, if you compare him to, like, the MC from, like, To Love Ru or something... He's obviously...
Oh, I was comparing him to, like... Comet Lucifer, MC.
Yeah.
The one interesting thing that I noticed that I actually kind of agree with is the show doesn't necessarily use plot devices to create dramatic effect. As they try to use the characters and the characters' actions to create some of the dramatic effect. Like, for instance, like that snow scene, they totally could have turned that into a big thing, but instead it was like, oh wait, they're actually going to be okay.
Yeah.
For some odd reason. So I give the show credit for really trying to make it character driven as opposed to saying, oh look, plot device, we need to make something happen, let's just throw a monkey wrench in it and then have them react.
Yeah.
Yeah, instead, it was them throwing the monkey wrench into their own system and then having them react to their own monkey wrench.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, half the characters, like, stab a knife into their own leg, and then they're like, shit, how do I take this out? I don't know how to do that. I'm just going to leave it here.
I totally didn't profess my love to MC here. Oh, I totally professed my love to MC.
Yeah. Okay, also, actually, on the topic of characters, usually I like to have a girl I'm rooting for. And in this show, not once did I ever think, I think you should be with him.
Honestly, like, for all me saying, like, Setsuna should go die in a hole and she's terrible, like, honestly, I didn't care for either of the characters in this. When I first watched the show, I was rooting for Setsuna. Yeah. And then I read a bunch of write-ups and said, okay, Toma's a better choice. But then after that, I was like, I'm not really rooting for any of this. I'm just watching this because I decided to watch all of this in one sitting.
Yeah, I did the same thing, and I was on one of my, like, not sleeping things again.
Yeah, do that all the time.
You guys remember vividly our Oragaru discussion. How did that open up? Hey, what ship are you on?
And 3 completely different answers.
Yeah. And we saw other people's ships burning.
My ship's never going through, but that's cool.
Wait, were you the club president?
No, you were Jay, I remember you were black-haired girl.
I was.
I was Yui, and Dawson was the class president.
Yeah. Incho.
The
oh yeah, the one that he carried her bags for her, and there was a great little bit.
Oh yeah, it was her. Yeah.
No, dude, it's okay. Just go look up that image of, like, 8-Man making out with all the girls that somebody drew in full font.
that was great.
Did you ever see that, Jay?
What?
Somebody drew all the girls, like, making out with 8-Man, like, just, like, you know, there's as doodles and stuff like that.
I sent you the link for when they did a Yamada-kun and 8-Man cross.
Oh yeah, that was infuriating. That was infuriating. Anyway.
That sounds amazing.
I'm gonna send that to you right now.
No, Jay, I mean, Dawson, I think I sent that to you too.
Did you?
This is great. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, what else do you have on your list there, Jay?
Those are most of the main adjectives I was seeing. A lot of heart-wrenching, gut-punching. The word sad came up way too much. If you're ever writing a review,
don't use
please
the word
use a word
sad.
other than sad. Try and define it more.
Well, you should be using opinion words, not fact words. I think it's pretty much fact that this is sad, or at least supposed to be sad, regardless of how you feel about it.
No, dude, it's a happy anime.
Yeah.
Don't you love how, she just gets on the plane and leaves?
Yeah.
And she's gone. And that's the end of that, folks.
Actually, no. There's actually a lot of people who actually rationalize that. It makes sense why she got onto that plane.
Dude, I wanted her to leave. Okay, my ideal ending for this was nothing.
Was MC getting stabbed by Setsuna, and then giving.
I
wanted none of them to end up together. To be honest.
And that's what happens.
Yeah,
that's what happens. Yeah,
great.
That's the post what happens. He just breaks it off with Setsuna, and then he becomes a recluse in college.
And then
which
he hooks up again with her later.
I would have needed to see that. I wish they would have shown that, because that would have been...
a little, instead of them playing the song, show him in college.
By himself.
Or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what, Dawson? You're right. That would have been a better ending next to Setsuna dying.
Dono, you keep going back to Setsuna dying, and it worries me just a little bit.
Just a little. Maybe a little more than a little bit.
We keep going back to this dark place.
Because this is a dark place anime.
Yeah, at least it's supposed to be.
I don't...
Hey,
If I would just change the last 2 episodes...
it seems like we're winding
down.
Yeah,
last 2 episodes.
I would agree. I feel like if this anime just changed it, the thing is, this was a VM.
Yeah.
I want to read the visual novel, because if that's how the visual novel did it, then that's how it should be in terms of telling the accurate story. However, I feel like they synthesized 3 endings into one.
No, because that's exactly the ending of the introductory chapter. That's how you get into the concluding chapter.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, if that's how they did it, then that's how it has to be.
But the thing is I feel that a lot of people go, hey, go read the write-up. That's what a lot of people's answers is. And this is a show that I feel that they didn't know if they could get the money for the second season.
Yeah, they can't do what Higurashi did.
And they didn't. They didn't get to that second season. And because of that, they didn't tell the complete story they wanted to they could have told. And with that, it leaves a lot of emptiness, or a lot of, wow, that is a really, really terrible ending for us to feel like. And I feel that if they did what me and you, Dawson, we constantly say this is, hey, when a show makes up an ending because they're getting close to the source material, that's terrible.
I really don't like that. As much as it sucks to have an incomplete feeling show, I'd rather have an incomplete feeling show than a show that makes up an ending non-canon to the source material. If the source material
because
is good.
I would have liked that better. I would have liked that extra 2 minutes of MC sitting by himself in a room just thinking of his mistakes. And everyone else being happy.
Exactly.
I think it's important to note these kids are in high school and they'll get over it.
Yeah.
Theoretically.
But they don't! They don't!
They should get over it.
They should.
Jay, me and you have read the post
I know, I read the post stuff.
They don't!
And that's what bothers me the most, is these kids are eternally stuck at the age of 16, and
Forever.
They don't grow.
Forever.
They don't grow as human beings. I get that a lot of the times a lot of the romance stories in anime tend to follow the same path due to the age range.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But if they get older, they have to grow as people.
Yeah.
I feel like, alright, so cool, you had a little fling your senior year of high school, and it never really went anywhere, And now it's like 10 years later, and you're like, oh, you see her again. You say hi, you got a coffee, whatever.
Hey, Dawson, you know what was really great? In Nagi no Asakura, when that one character just goes, well, that's how my first love ended. Time to go move on.
That was great.
Even though I don't like that ending, that's a good way of doing that.
It's like, well, time to switch things up.
Yeah, hey, Jay, in Nagi no Asakura, there's a character that literally goes, well, my first love failed. I'm gonna go move on.
That makes me want to watch the show.
I really like Nagi no Asakura. Andrew kind of likes Nagi no Asakura, and Connor didn't like Nagi no Asakura.
I like it up until the last, half an episode. No, last 5 minutes.
Oh, this is that one.
You're gonna watch it
I
now?
know which one this is.
You gonna watch
because
that?
we talked about it. This is the sadness.
Regardless of whether you like it or not, let me just say the audio and the visuals are absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, it's better than White Album 2.
Yeah, exactly.
I have to say, they did have a pretty big budget for White Album 2 from a visual standpoint, I felt like.
No. Jake, this is one of those examples. Go watch Nagi no Asakura and come back to us and tell us that they had a good budget for White Album 2 visuals.
Well, I've seen Fate Stay Night. They have an unlimited budget.
Okay.
No, that's why it's called Unlimited Blade Works. They
Dude, Unlimited Budget Works?
But,
as some like to call it.
Yeah.
I think mainly I've watched, at least 3 or 4 different shows based around music in some way or another. And every single one of those, especially... First off, I really liked all of those. Your Lie in April, K-On!, and Hibeki Euphonium. All 3 of those looked better than this show.
I've seen visuals for them. They're amazing.
There's a famous scene from Hibeki I have to...
I sent you that link that we were
I watched that, and I remember seeing that now, and I remember enjoying that, because it's great.
So, let's wind this up.
Yeah.
Jay. Okay. Dawson, give me your score out of 10, and then say
okay. I am too close to having watched this to properly score it, but I'm gonna go with a 6 for now.
Okay. And you've made your reasons. I'd say 6.5. Yeah, I agree. 6.5. I have it at 7 because you can't do 0.5s on now, so I rounded up. 6.5. Because even though I dislike a lot of aspects of it, there are parts of Setsuna being the worst character ever that I go, okay, that's brilliant. She's super manipulative. She's terrible. That's great. The thing is, the emotional reaction I got from it is horrible. But the fact that I could sit here and go, I understand why people like it. I don't like the fact that all these people like it.
Yeah.
But I understand why I give it that score.
Okay. That makes sense.
And Jay, what is your score out of 10?
I hate giving things scores out of 10.
It is hard. I feel like I never do it properly, but I still try.
Because I always like writing out my thoughts in terms of...
Dude, that's what this whole hour was, is us literally talking our thoughts out.
I mean, here's the thing. It's not a show that I'm going to say don't ever watch it, because obviously I'm in the minority when it comes to people who don't like it. There is a huge following for the visual novel.
Yeah.
The anime is immensely popular. Its popularity ratings on all the major websites are remarkably high.
And the 3 of us, seem to be in the minority.
So, I think if you want to watch it, great. It's just not my cup of tea, clearly. I think if you're looking for romance, there's probably other options out there for you to go with that we talked about earlier.
Go watch Nagi no Asakura.
Watch Your Lie in April. That's all I have to say.
Go watch Your
Lie in April is what you should be watching instead of this. Some people it doesn't work for, but
if you want a sad manga, go read Rosario Vampire. You might shed a few tears. I didn't. It wasn't. I didn't.
Of course not.
Cry.
It's okay. I didn't cry at the end of Negima.
But I...
Give it a 10. Give it out of 10. Give it out of 10.
I'm gonna give it like a 6.5, 7.
Okay.
I mean, I tend to bash on things pretty hard when I'm talking about them, but when it comes down to it, I mean, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. Exactly. This is... I'm gonna do a little roundup after this to just of anime I watched and do a quick review of it in a minute. But yeah, this is not the worst thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
There's at least 2 anime this season that are the worst thing I've ever seen.
I'm pretty sure that you and I share... Dado, you still haven't watched the one anime that we both seen, have you? What the devil was it called?
Devil's a part-timer?
No. It was you know what I'm talking about, and I can't remember the name of it.
High School DxD?
No. God, what was it? What was that anime called? We talked about it all summer because I watched it.
Describe it.
Okay, it's the one where the kids are going to the school at the university where they have special gear that gives them powers.
Absolute Duo.
Yes, Absolute Duo.
No, Jay. That's why I said you're gonna stay on for the next little bit here, because I have something to say about that.
Absolute Duo.
I have something to say about
You watched Absolute Duo?
No, I did not watch Absolute Duo, but I have something to say about that. But anyway, so overall, White Album 2, go watch something else.
I suppose when it gets down to it.
Dude, this was a whole year. Like, this is a half a year of our... This is a chapter of our lives done, Jay. Just remember that.
Yeah, I mean, it's over.
We finally did it. We finally talked about it.
We did, and I feel bad, because you know what? People like this show, and I don't want to be a meanie, but I feel like there are other shows that you might like more.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I agree. So much more. Yeah. That's our final thoughts on it.